away from that, let's go into other things. Well, it's kind of related because we're still talking politics, and our first guest this morning is one you call a professional in politics, and we've seen historically a few of them coming into politics a little more frequently. If you're wondering why, let's find out from Kenneth Bass, who is the NDC candidate for Oruba Etung Federal Constituency, Cross River State. He joins us in the studio here. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Lionel. Thank you for having me.
First of all, you were at some point a member of the PDP.
Yeah, I actually spent 15 years in the PDP.
Whoa. Yeah. So did you see all this drama coming up?
Actually, when your interest is service, and you see all this factionalization, you begin to ask yourself the questions, what are you supposed to do? Because it's for most of us who are coming into politics driven by the ethos of coming to serve our people, you don't want to be on someone's apron string. You want to be independent enough to think for yourself, to think for your people, to stand for what you believe in. And sometimes when you see these factions, what happens is that they don't stand for, it's about something personal to someone, and you have to support that person, sometimes against the people that you should be standing for. So that's why myself, I left the PDP and found myself in the NDC.
So when you say you stand for yourself, there are those who will also ask the questions whether or not the ethos of the party itself, the manifestos of the party, was in any way at play. There are those who have also accused members of the PDP who have influence of violating even their own constitution. Is that something you experience as well?
It's something you would experience if you're a conscientious person. You don't go into a political party because it's a vehicle. You get into a political party because it's a vehicle that's going in your direction, and you believe that direction represents the well-being of your people, whether in terms of education, security, any kind of reform. And that is why you get on it, and you get other people to join you and lead them in that direction. Once you cannot guarantee that ability to be independent-minded, the political party doesn't serve the purpose. But what we have, and I'm sorry to say this, but it's the stark truth, it's the elephant in the room. In most of the political parties, what we have is that we have situations where they become like cult followings. There are no ideas. There's no political party registered by the Independent National Electoral Commission that does not have what it stands for. But ask a lot of people who are jostling for positions on this party, on the platform of this party, if they ever read their party constitutions, or what they know what their party, or whether they know what their party stand for. And that's where representative leadership start to lack when people do not know what the platforms that they stand for believe in terms of principles, in terms of values, in terms of direction, when it has to do with our national development, rural development, and all of that. So it starts from there and goes all the way down.
So there are many people have also argued that as far as Nigerian politicians are concerned, one political party is just the same as any other political party. People who jostle from one political party to the other. The NDC has also received politicians from different political parties, from the APC, from the PDP, the same thing and all of that. So the question will be, what makes the NDC different?
The difference in the NDC is very simple, right? Issue-based engagement, legislative reform, oversight efficiency, care for the people at the rural side of government, in the rural areas, and there is the policy statement on almost every aspect of the national economy. I remember when I joined the party, the first thing that they did was an induction program about what the party stands for, so that if you have any idea of principal gaps, you could bridge them, and you could see that, if this is what you believe in, because at the end of the day, it's not about you being on a platform. Yes, I understand that for exigencies and convenience, politicians have made it an art, a very creative art of moving from one party to the other in quest for a ticket to contest election. That will always be there. Well, I think that at the end of the day, it's not just about the politician. The politician is just one person representing a people. The people who put the politician or who have the opportunity to look at 2 or 3 alternatives, that should be able to engage them to the point where they're able to discover themselves who stands for what he says, who believes in what he's saying. Nigeria is a country where, it's funny, really. Someone comes to you and says to you, I would create you for you such an extent of value. And you cannot see one thing in a man who has lived 50 years, 45 years, one thing that he has created. And the electorate believe in these people. And of course, that is why most of what we have today, people complain about not seeing the dividends of democracy, has a lot to do with the quality of representation. So I think that's one of the things we should look at. Who are the parties, what they stand for, the people standing on the platform of those parties, what are their promises, what are their history? Because those things always connect to what they can deliver.
You are a PR specialist, so we will expect you to market yourself properly. It is a natural thing. And a good number of people will say, hey, politicians always make promises and they don't keep them and all. So there are those who listening to you and watching you right now will say, okay, this fellow, he's speaking the right things, as other politicians have said the right thing before. Some politicians have joined the political party, and before you know what is happening, their old habits kind of come into the new party with them and all of that. An African proverb says that the character is like smoke. At the end of the day, no matter how much you can it always plays up. So for those who are politicians that many people have been skeptical about and they are joining in this party, what's the assurance of sustainability of these ideas that you're talking about? The NDC is one of the youngest political parties we have, so it's still an infant that can be influenced.
Infant with a lot of experience. What has happened over the last 6 months or thereabout is that a lot of people who have something to offer, who have a history that you can go back and look at, like I said, have joined the party. Joining the party is not for the sake of joining the party. Joining the party is also for the sake of being able to add further depth to the debate about what we should be doing as a people, what direction we should be going to or facing as a country. Now, it is true that politicians will make you all the promises. I understand that, just to get votes. But the other truth is this, right? Every politician is a product of a family, a product of a community, a product of a society, a product of, in some cases, professional bodies, right? And people have worked with these people and they know them. So for me, I think one of the things people need to begin looking at this point is not, yes, it's good to look at a political platform, but it's more important to be able to zero in, because like you said, the thing about character is formed. Someone who is deceitful is deceitful. Someone who is avaricious there's nothing you can do about that. That's the character of the person. But I think that when the debate has more depth, Nigerians themselves, right, will be able to distill, right, everybody who stands in front of them and offers himself up for service. They'll be able to distill whether these people really are standing for service or not.
Leading me to the bar, the entry level bar in the Constitution, the legal bar. Now, those who say that the legal bar is very, very low for entry, for running for office, school sets, minimum and all of those things, and it cuts across all political offices in the country. In fact, there are those who believe that the Constitution doesn't even require you to pass WAEC. Just attempt it, And some people have also even said that if the bar has been made even lower. There have been attempts historically for the bar to be raised at least to tertiary education level, but of course that has also been resisted over time. So when you are talking about depth in conversations, in these things, the legal bar is there. There will be an entrance and there is no legal compulsion for anyone to stand in front of the people for a debate. No such demands as yet. So will that depth matter when the person already has a ticket of his political party and the person refuses to come out and have any conversation with anybody?
So I worked as a consultant to the late Senator Uche Chukwumeriji. He was trying to work on a bill at the time, 2009, on corporate social responsibility. And he found me and brought me to Abuja I stayed 2 months with him, maybe 3. And I used to walk into and sit in the gallery of both the Senate and the House of Representatives and listen to the debate that goes on the floor of those two hallowed chambers. That was when I made up my mind that if this were the quality of people who were taking the decision for me and my children and generations to come, then there was no point why I shouldn't get involved, why other people who have things to offer should not get involved. That is the motivation. So for me, I think what we should focus on, and that is what the 2027 elections is about. Something that started in 2023 election, where the binary hold of the two parties were broken, and now Nigerians are beginning to look at what alternatives can we have? How do we improve the quality of the people that find their way to these chambers of legislation? Now you talked about the fact that the entry barrier is low, even attempt is good. Yes, at this point, for you to be able to, why that legislation that was supposed to help us change that hasn't worked is because when you walk into that room and there are 360 members, House of Rep members, and as much as 70% of them are affected or will be negatively impacted by the fact that you want to raise the educational bar, of course they will vote against it. And in the House, the ayes have it. So what we need to do is progressively begin to look at what quality of persons do we want as a people to sit in that space.
That decision starts with the political parties.
Yes.
The bar is low as far as the Constitution is concerned. From what I understand, the intention of the crafters of the Constitution is to encourage inclusivity. But then there are some who have also seen it as something else altogether. So that responsibility of setting the bar should be with the political parties, at least, shouldn't it? If the Constitution has a low bar, then the political parties can raise the bar themselves. They can insist that, look, if you want to go for this, let's have an internal, debate and whatever. Let the parties themselves set the bar. Is this something you want to push with your political party?
Yeah, it's something I would like to prove, to push forward. It sounds logical, it sounds very sensible, but I'll tell you something. Imagine the scenario. You're expecting the political party to set the standards, right? That's your argument. But the society or the community pushes up 5 people, 5 aspirants for the same office who are even below the lowest of the bar. What does the political party do? So accountability starts with the people. The people should be able to stand and say to a political party, if you give us this kind of person or this kind of character who we know had been proven to be a thug, a terror or whatever, we will not vote for your party. At that point, 2 things have happened. The party becomes accountable to the people. The people become responsible to the party. Those are the bottlenecks we need to go through, because the issue we have in our country today, very sadly, very, very sadly, is that today we have young boys and girls who have graduated from school, university, did very well academically, but they're coming into a society that has nothing to give to them. When you look at the jackpot mentality that has become like butt of every social joke, every social gathering nowadays, it's not because Nigerians want to leave their country. Nigerians actually love their country. When you travel out and you meet Nigerians outside, what they tell you, no matter how successful they are, they tell you, we wish we could come back home. What we need to do is the quality of the socio-economic and cultural environment, and to be able to impact how that space, the health of that space, we need to critically, and that is the challenge of the 2027 election, Nigerians need to critically assess the quality of candidates and who they believe. Again, I go back to it, based on their history. You can't ask someone to cook you a dikaikong and the person had never gone to the market or seen a stove or a gas cooker, and you expect that some delicacy will land on your table. That part of accountability belongs to the electorate. And I think that is something, when we start from that point, where they begin to insist on quality, insist on quality, what that does is that when you get to the floor of either the Senate or the National Assembly, you'll find one thing. One, the politics of godfatherism will start to find its square root or disappear. Then, concomitant of that, you have quality representation, more people who can engage. Like when you look at the House of Commons in the UK, and they engage in robust debates about the economy and all that.
It's not surprising that you used Edeka Ikong as the example, but we'll come back to that some other time. I'm sure Mokwe has some questions for you as well. Mokwe, go ahead.
Indeed, I was already making a picture of that Edeka Ikong soup in my mind, but let me come back to the conversation here. I mean, you have been justifying why you have chosen the House of Representatives as your first point. You have made the point that people need quality representation, but we do know that your constituency already has a representative in the House of Representatives representing it, so to speak. I'm just a little curious as to, one, how you intend to displace him, given the fact that the political party which he represents is also the one at the leadership level at the state. That's on, I mean, is also the governor of the state, or has also produced the governor of the state. And also the fact that usually when people are able to do more than a term, they then become ranking members of the House of the National Assembly in such a way that they're given a greater voice. Yes, we do know that they're all supposed to be equals, but we also do know that in the House of Reps and in the Senate, some are more equal than others, and usually it has to do with ranking. And so oftentimes the plea has now been with the Nigerian public to see how they can return members that are performing. Is it that you do not think that this member currently is performing? And if you don't, what's your grounds with him?
Okay. What's the first part of the question?
Do you have a grouse with your member? Is he performing or not? Or why do you want to displace him?
Oh, okay. So, thank you for the question. Why do I want to replace? I think that most of what we need right now is to be able to deliver quality to our people. I come from a part of the country, perhaps in my constituency, we're looking at about 600,000 or 700,000 population, where we promise young children all that they could have if they went to school and did very well. So for me, I think one of the things we need to do is how do we improve, you know, we can't create enough industries to take up all the school leavers. How do we help them create startup enterprise by themselves? If you're looking at SMEs, how do we help them scale up, train them to start up and set up things for themselves? The other thing for me, why I think I would like an opportunity to represent my people in the National Assembly is the fact that I have also seen that it is possible. One of the problems we have in our country at this point is that it is possible for us to have schools, even elementary schools, right? That the same thing, whether it's coding, technology, that the child in China and Japan have access to, that we can start to introduce our children to it, even at the level that they are. I think those are some of the things that have held us back that we can do differently. So for me, I also believe that, you see, macroeconomic benefits without requisite benefit to or value creation for the people, it makes no sense. If At the end of the day, the cassava farmer in Obubra cannot get his or her product to the market because of infrastructure deficit or inflation that has reduced 50,000 to 500. You know, those things matter a lot. So I think there are things we can do to bring life back to our constituency from that level, and hopefully have that, if it's happening on different levels in different constituencies or different states at the same time, that will help us to improve the quality of life of the average Nigerian. That's my answer to that.
Well, I also raised the issue of ranking. The fact that the older a member of the House of Reps gets in, or even a senator gets within the system, the greater a voice they have, the greater understanding they have of how the National Assembly works. Do you think that you endanger that line of, will I say, that improvement of your people's voice if they continue to return the current member in the House of Reps?
Well, there's always the thing about how the House works. Yes, people will always say that. But the way the House works, or the legislature works right now, doesn't necessarily mean it functions in its full capacity. The first thing about the legislature is oversight. The first responsibility you have as a legislature is to be able to look at your federal allocations and how it leads to meaningful impact in your constituency. It also helps you have the responsibility of also ensuring that your people are benefiting and they can see or feel the impact of governance. So if you look at this, even though it hasn't run the way it should, I think that when we create a process where the people who are minority, who happens to be like 1 to 1.5% or 2% or 3% at most, who make up the leadership, when they become accountable to the people who elect them, I think we see a lot of magic. That is the gold dust for me that is missing. Because what has happened over the years, Mopo, is that we have weaponized the political class, have weaponized poverty against its own people. So if you go around, for example, during the campaigns, the people are more interested in things like transport money, salt. Nobody's engaging in the robustness of the conversations that will bring about differences in their lives. So like I said to Ayo earlier, it's not so much about what you do differently in the House of Representatives or the Senate. It has more to do with the fact that have we gotten Nigerians to that point where perhaps in the last 3 years, right, their patience has been tested. Their wallet that used to bust the seams are virtually empty. They can't buy food like they used to, or eat and have a quality of life that they used to have. Has this energized them to the point where they are saying to themselves that, you know, we're not going to stand back anymore and just accept gifts of soap and salt from the politicians. We want to ask them, what plans do they have for their children in terms of education? What plans do they have for the local markets, for, you know, all aspects of their society? But I assure you, when these conversations really start and get to that point, you won't be talking about quality of representation that is poor. What would happen ordinarily is that you're going to give the Nigerians the right, which they have, but they haven't recognized for a very long time, the right to hire a politician and fire him even before the next election when they are not satisfied with what they're getting. So it's not so much about what happens in the House. We talked earlier about the quality of people who go into the National Assembly, but I also believe very strongly that the quality of followership is also important. Now, it's not that we don't have good followers, but it will be also for the sake of our country, for the sake of the future. It's also important that we get our followers, you know, when we're going to meet them, they're asking us pertinent questions. Not how much we bring into them, but what are the plans that we have that will drive development, that will drive growth, that will drive opportunities? Because you see, when you don't democratize opportunities, what happens is that it will remain an exclusive reserve of those who hold the levers, as it were. of the economy and government.
Ayo, over to you.
Well, thank you, Mapwe. So we have to thank you very much for your time this morning. But before you go, what message would you, I know that you have indicated, you have hinted at it, but what is your message for other professionals who are afraid of getting their hands dirty in politics?
The message is simple, Ayo. We can't leave our country the way it is. An epiphany happened for me in 2009 when I walked in there, and I got that conviction that people like myself need to get in this space. Over time, one of the things that we have suffered is that policies, we make policies. Nigeria is not short of policies, right? But the gaps of people who can implement those policies.
Okay.
And those of us who are professionals, who have things we've done, who have proven over time, stand head over heels to be able to make that difference.
Okay.
And my hope, lastly, is as we go to the polls in 2027, and that's what Nigerians are asking.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Kenneth Bass, where he says I shouldn't call him Dr. Kenneth Bass, NDC candidate for Obubai Tung, Federal Constituency in Cross River State. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much, Ayo.
Okay.
My pleasure.
When we return, we are talking about one of those news you don't like to talk about, but we have to. In a moment, stay with us.